Hello and welcome back to the final event of Switch to Digital. So we've heard so much this week. We've heard from people across the industry on different job roles, on different opportunities, on different learning tools and platforms. And the final event is a panel event where we're going to be talking about the next steps. So how do we take everything that we've learned this week and how do we bring that all together and make the next steps in our journey? So as you can see, I'm joined by Adele, Craig and Sarah. So before we get into any of the detail of the event, I'm just going to ask them all to introduce themselves. Craig, should we start with you? Oh, I think you need to unmute yourself.
I'll unmute myself. That's a good start to a tech talk, isn't it? Hi, I'm Craig. I'm Principal and CEO at University Academy 92. So it's a relatively new higher education institution based in Greater Manchester. We're right next to the old Trafford cricket ground, the old Kellogg's building. So we're quite new. We've been formed in partnership by Lancaster University, the class of 92, so Gary Neville, Phil Neville, Paul Scholes, Nicky Butt, Ryan Giggs, and they've got together with a whole bunch of industry partners, including Microsoft and Insight and KPMG and TalkTalk, to actually help form a higher education institution that's slightly different to the others. We award Lancaster University degrees, but the way our students learn is very, very different to most universities, with lots of industry engagement and lots of industry partners involved in that. I should also declare that I'm a computer scientist as well, by background. And I've been a software engineer, a coder, so I'm really into tech myself, but that's not really my job now, and I'm a professor as well at Lancaster University, and I'm really passionate about access to education, about the ability of education to transform lives, to change things, to give people opportunities, to transform the economy, and I'm really into coding as well. So that's me.
Amazing, thanks, Craig. Sarah, do you want to tell us a bit about yourself? Oh, you're on mute.
There we go. I kept thinking, take myself off mute, and then I didn't and lost the page instead. Hi, everyone. My name's Sarah. I work at Autotrader. And my role at Autotrader is to look after all our early careers programs. So my role is to think about how we get great entry talent into the organisation from multiple different routes. It's not a one size fits all. It's very much about us exploring great ways to bring new people into the business from all different backgrounds and communities. Some of those things include, apprenticeships, graduate roles, returners, retrainers from within the business, because we want to give the opportunity for people to reskill that way too. Yeah, a little bit of background on me.
Thank you. And Adele.
Hi everyone, good afternoon. I'm Adele, so I'm a Principal Skills Manager at the Greater Manchester Combined Authority. For those of you that might not know who we are the 10 local councils and the Mayor, Andy Burnham, and our role is basically to work with businesses and local communities to improve prosperity and life chances across the region. My role day to day is really all about working with industry and organisations like Manchester Digital to understand their needs, and then work with universities, colleges, training providers to really make sure that the training that's been offered meets the needs of employers, but also that there's a really kind of diverse and exciting range of opportunities to build their career, for people to build careers, whether that's kind of straight from school, through traditional education, through retraining. So things like working on this week and retraining people into the digital sector through the Fast Track Digital Workforce Fund. Before I was in this role, I've basically worked in various different roles across local government before moving into economic development. And probably the best thing about my role is that I get to work at that interface between the public and the private sector, and I think there's so much we can learn from each other. And the best thing about working with the tech industry, and why I'd say definitely go for it is I think it's just full of people that want to give back and want to use that technology to make the world a better place. It's not all about making a profit.
Yeah, we've really seen that. There's been a real community feel through everyone that's spoken this week about where they go for help and advice and how to reach out to them for help and advice. So it's really great to kind of have that community, I think, when you're moving into an industry or learning new skills. And I have to say, Adele has been kind of key in getting this event up and running and funding the event. So a huge thank you to Adele for all her help and support with that as well. So this session, as I said, is all about bringing together everything that we've talked about this week and starting to look at what are some of the next steps that people can take, what are the resources out there, what are the avenues that they can go down, whether that's looking to go into learning new skills or whether it's looking for additional support or even finding employment opportunities as well. And there's huge amount of resources within the public sector. So Adele, could you tell us a little bit about, because obviously there's a Switch to Digital toolkit, which I'm not sure if people know about yet, and also kind of all the additional help and support that's available through the public sector.
Yeah, so one of the things that we've done working with partners is we've created this Switch to Digital toolkit, which Becky will share after the event. So I can really see that it could be really confusing. There's so much kind of different opportunities out there and there's so much noise. So what this toolkit tries to do is really kind of pull together some of the next steps you could take in switching to that digital career. So you'll find in there a range of kind of really great self-paced online resources that you can use to start building your skills in areas like data, digital marketing, just kind of start to take a look at it. We've got some absolutely fantastic digital boot camps in the region, organisations like North Coders, Code Nation, Coding for Refugees. These have really good employment prospects at the end, generally often kind of partnering with employers. We've got some absolutely amazing digital apprenticeships, and I know Sarah will probably talk to you about some of what Auto Trader offer. And we've also got some great paid internships as well that can just help you to get that foot in the door. So absolutely have a look at that directory, and we'll be keeping that up to date. In terms of other support available through the public sector, so we don't have all the solutions. A lot of what we do is about trying to encourage a really vibrant kind of digital ecosystem and helping that to thrive. So I'd say developing your career, whatever the sector is really, is about kind of building that network to share experiences and learnings with people, getting that informal learning and mentoring. So we've got some absolutely fantastic kind of events, meetups and workshops in Greater Manchester. So just search for events and things that you're interested in, whether that's kind of a UX design workshop, a talk on project management. We've got Tech for Good Live that hold a monthly meetup, which would be a great one to go along to. If you want to connect with women working in data, Her Plus Data Manchester is a great group. We've got so many different groups, so really kind of get yourself embedded in the community. In terms of kind of specific support that we've funded, we've been able to put in place some really great training opportunities as a public sector through a partnership with DCMS on something called the Fast Track Digital Workforce Fund. So this is basically free short courses, typically lasting about 12 weeks, where you'll train for a particular digital role. It might be to be a data analyst or a digital marketer, for example. You might get a qualification along the way, and you'll always have a guaranteed interview with an employer at the end. So it's quite a work-focused way to get into the industry. And all of those opportunities are openly advertised on the GMCA website. We haven't got that many open at the moment, but from about the start of November, we should have around another 400 opportunities opening up. So that is really the main thing that we've got. I'd also suggest taking a look at GMAX. So that's the Greater Manchester Apprenticeships and Careers Service. That's got some great information about opportunities available across all sectors, but it's got some great content on the digital industry and the roles, and some resources to help you build a bit of a plan for your career. And I'd really emphasise that apprenticeships aren't just for young people. They're a great way to reskill, to return to the industry, or to make a change at any point. Like I said, we don't have all the answers. We're still learning all the time about what's needed, and we're going to look really closely about everything that everybody's said this week, and maybe come back to you as well to try and put the best possible support in place to help you make that switch. So do kind of let us know how you feel about what's out there and kind of what else you think is needed.
Yeah, and we will be sending around a survey on Monday, which will be an opportunity for you to kind of obviously answer some questions for us, which would be great, but give any feedback about anything specific. And also, if you do want to be in touch with us to discuss those opportunities more, then by all means, you'll be able to do that, and that'll be coming out on Monday. So thank you, Adele. Just for everyone watching, I've popped a couple of the links in the chat for you about the digital toolkit, and also around the fast track funding as well. If you go onto those, there's kind of a lot of information you can find on the GMCA website. So Craig, I just want to come over to you now, because obviously it's great hearing everything in the public sector, but having come from a computer science background and now kind of leading in education, what advice would you give to people that are looking to go into kind of that further training or development to build their digital skills?
Yeah, well, thanks for the question, Becky. Yeah, well, I think even if all 650 people that have engaged this week in this event go into digital roles in Greater Manchester, there's still a huge shortage. And we know we're in challenging times, but before we went into lockdown, just in terms of software developers alone, the wider area here needed about 2,000. So for me, I think this is a really, really fruitful career area. Not sure what I'm doing in education, but interestingly, you get a lot of people in education that have come from a digital background, and because of their background, they're actually in more demand and impactful in education. So I think it's worth thinking about the breadth of careers that you can go into. So just purely in teaching alone, all teaching, just because of COVID at the moment, is now starting to get online elements. And so digital technologists in schools, in colleges, in universities are now like gold dust. And they're a premium, and the really, really good digital technologists are really hard to find. So that's now become a huge shortage area overnight, or almost. But I think obviously the world needs coders. I would say this because that's my background, but in reality, that is a huge shortage area. So people that can code. And contrary to popular belief, I was talking to the guy that heads up GCHQ. I'll not say his name. Perhaps people will put a bag over my head and take me away if I mention what he's called for secrecy reasons. I'm joking. But I was talking to the guy that heads up GCHQ in Greater Manchester. And he was talking about the way that GCHQ, a really, really important organisation, government intelligence organisation that keeps us all safe, and they are really scaling up massively in Greater Manchester with their new venture. They're going to need a huge intake over the next few years of digital people in a whole range of areas. But when they're looking for coders, they often take people that have come from backgrounds that aren't necessarily techie. So what I would say is, coding is not just about an IT person. If you want to go and study a program to learn to code, you don't have to have prior coding experience, but it's all to do with particular attitudes and aptitude. So again, this can be a fear factor. For me, there's lots and lots of different routes in. Apprenticeships, Adele's spoken about, I think is a really good route. If you can combine learning with an element of industry engagement, that will give you an edge. University Academy 92, all of our courses in whatever area, business, media, sport or digital, you will all have engagement. All of our students, whether it be a degree that they're studying or a sub-degree level qualification on the way, maybe towards a degree, they will all have some industry engagement. So the number one for me is look out for programs that have got an element of engagement, and apprenticeships are a great route. I've seen apprenticeships work really, really well at all levels. I would echo what Adele said as well about it not being all about just young people. Great. These opportunities are amazing for young people to get into. It will be life transforming as people learn these skills and enter this profession, a different aspect of it. However, it's for people of all ages. It's a great subject to get into as a career changer at whatever age. And often I think the term apprenticeship or degree or whatever it happens to be, you instantly think of 18, 19-year-olds. So what I would really urge people to think of, and you might think, oh, I'm not degree level material. I thought the same. You know, nobody from my family went to university, and nobody from where I came from, my area, went to university. But actually, I eventually went and studied for a degree in computer science, and it unlocked a whole life for me that I couldn't have imagined before I started it. So I think anybody that's thinking that degree level study or degrees or qualifications or apprenticeships are not for them, I think we've really got to start talking about what it's really like to study at university. If you look at what it's like to study at University Academy 92, students will study one subject at a time. There are no final exams, all the assessments in situ. The timetable is structured such that they study in the morning or the afternoon. If you're a morning student, that's your time forever, so you can organise your life. Wednesdays is digital Wednesdays anyway, so even out of COVID times, it's you study in your own time using the technology. And we use Microsoft Teams, actually. We always have done pre-COVID, so that even the learning environment's got a digital element. We don't have any library books. We've got a lovely campus in Trafford, but all of our learning resources are online. And you're starting to see this in education now, that the learning environment, it's not what you might perceive as university. There are lots of courses around. I was just having a look, actually, before this webinar. Lots of things around in the various areas. So we've talked about coders and the Code Nation stuff. We've got a coding course which I might talk about later. There are lots and lots of opportunities for creatives. If you're a creative in the digital sector, technicians, the real techies, the IT people. I'm not an IT person. I'd never would say I'm an IT person, but there's some great people that work in our organisation that support us all because they're brilliant at just making the IT work. Data analysis. I spotted a program, I think it's closed, but at Salford University, locally, there's a data analysis fast track, big data. If you're into analysing data, then that is going to become a huge area. So for me, I think it's really important not to think about university, college, wherever it happens to be, about those stereotypical people. And just one final point for me, in terms of the tech sector in particular, in terms of digital, there's a shortage of particular groups. So minority ethnic groups, there's a big shortage. Lots of organizations, big organizations, some of which we work with, have got a real drive to show underrepresented groups in the digital sector are there. And we've talked about women in tech as well, another underrepresented group. So a huge shortage, a huge demand. We know it's difficult in COVID times, but I think there's no better time to get yourself upskilled, ready for the demand. There was a demand before we went into COVID that was marked. As we go out of the other side, it's unimaginable that demand is not going to be even more significant. And if you can engage your learning and combine it with some engagement with the sector, then you'll be in a very, very strong position to take up some of those great opportunities. And I would expect people to be in high demand as they move through their own digital sector training.
Absolutely, Craig. I think your point around kind of reframing your expectations around what learning looks like now. I know a couple of people from UA 92 have spoken this week, and we had Code Nation talking this morning, and just the way that learning is structured these days is so different to 20 years ago when I went to uni. And I think it's where there's been those barriers of that being for a younger person. we are now starting to see that it is for all ages. I know on our apprenticeship alone, we have, the age range goes up to kind of mid to late 40s, just based on applicants. And we also had, Code Nation was talking about, I think the oldest person they've had on one of their coding boot camps so far has been 58, and they've completed the boot camp and gone on to employment. So I think it's a really important point you've just made about what we may be thinking in learning is it's just completely changed. And I love the way that you talk about how you structured that. So that learning of the morning or the afternoon really does fit around your life, and makes it really kind of much more accessible to people as well.
Yeah, you're right, Becky. And tech's always been like this. I think folks in the tech sector, I've always not been that bothered about having an office, always worked pretty location independent, and the tech sector has always been like that. I think lots of other things are catching up now. We can beat Code Nation, actually. I once, when I was a jobbing lecturer, we had a 70-year-old lady who learnt to program in Java and then went on to do some Java, and she was brilliant, super sharp, super bright, and she was a great programmer. She was 70. That's there is not an age gap here. It's just to do with aptitude and commitment. So I think there's such a breadth of tech jobs out there that it's just a great sector to get into. Yeah,
absolutely. Thank you, Craig. And Sarah, I wanted to come to you because obviously working at Auto Trader, you're an incredible employer in the Northwest, and you kind of look to bring on talent in so many different ways. Could you talk to us about kind of some of the learning pathways that you're connected with, and kind of what advice would you give to anyone about the next steps that they should take, whether that's through additional learning or kind of approaching employers direct as well?
Yeah, of course. I mean, there's so many that we've explored over the year, and I'd say we change things all the time and constantly look for different ways to innovate in this space, which is kind of at the ethos of Auto Trader's approach to everything. As I touched on a little bit in my introduction, we have the traditional pathways into Auto Trader, like your graduate program and your apprenticeship program. But even just these things that we've changed with our graduate program, so you don't have to be a fresh graduate to apply for the graduate program. We typically, we accept applications from people with 5 years ago that they've graduated, even longer if the circumstances, in particular, if someone's had to take time out for caring responsibilities or health, or maybe they've had some childcare that they needed to take some time out from. So, we'll look at applications as an individual. And from the apprenticeship point, I think, Craig, you touched on it perfectly, and Adele. Apprenticeships, I think, really are starting to get out there and being seen as something as not just that thing that you do straight from school or college. If you don't know what you want to do, or you've maybe not got those grades, it's not at all like that anymore. They are great opportunities for people at any stage of their career or their life. If they're thinking about changing career or getting those qualifications behind them, a great opportunity. And more apprenticeships are coming through all the time, especially in the digital space. And especially at higher levels as well. You don't need to necessarily go back to basics and look at your 2s, 3s and 4s. If you have got some fantastic experience that's transferable from other careers, there is the degree opportunities, again, that Craig talked about, and an apprenticeship is another way of looking at that. So as I say, we've got our apprenticeships and graduate opportunities, but we always welcome people to apply and look at our vacancies if they've got transferable skills and they feel that they're ready through the work they've done themselves, through maybe attending meetups, self-learning, if they've been to boot camps and things. They don't necessarily need to be attached to a program. We welcome those applications through to our professional levels, and if you're able to do the work maybe whilst you're working or part-time or yourself first, then do apply, have those conversations with employers. I think, as I said on Monday's panel, just take some time to look at the job and spend some time on yourself and just think about how those skills transfer, and think about how you can bring those skills and experiences you've done from other things, because all experience that you get it builds skills and builds knowledge. So think about those. And as I said, over the years, we've taken people from lots of different learning pathways, whether or not that be like tech returners or boot camps, straight from college, school, from degrees, from different changes in careers. I think I mentioned on Monday as well, and I know we've had some amazing volunteers that supported with the mentoring session earlier. And when you speak to people at Auto Trader, they've come from so many different backgrounds, and I think that's the beauty in many respects. When you're speaking to people, they can bring in so many different experiences, so many different just from different communities. It's just a fantastic group of people. So I'd just say my advice to people is don't be afraid to be curious. Don't limit yourself. Ask questions. You know, no one hates a question, so please do ask them. Get in touch with people. Explore things, try things, because you never know. It may feel a little bit scary at first, but it could turn out to be something you absolutely love. And at the same time, I'd say, you know, we talk about there being a big need in the industry for developers. You know, do have a go and have a play, but you might find, and there's no shame if it's not right for you, because you know, not everyone is going to be a great developer, but it may open your eyes and give you some contacts into other things. Some of the other roles that we touched on before, you know, there's loads of opportunities for having that technical knowledge and bringing that into other roles. So even in more customer-facing roles, if you've got that awareness of digital technology and data and all those lovely things, it just adds to the skills that you can bring. Sorry, that was a bit of a waffly roundabout answer, but hopefully I've covered that off for you, Becky. Oh, Becky, you're on mute.
Sorry, that's not good, is it? I think that's the first time I've done that this week. Thank you, Sarah. Yeah, I was saying one of the things that I really love, because we work with Auto Trader quite closely, and it's kind of how diverse your kind of workforce is and how you really encourage all those different pathways, all those, you know, different backgrounds. And I know we've had a lot of conversations about that. Diversity is really important, and that's diversity from experience through to age, through to ethnicity. Is absolutely everything. Bringing that together does bring better results.
It does, and we're still learning all the time. And I find I learn so much from events like this myself. So there's definitely things that we're going to be researching on the back of this. And I know from speaking briefly to some of our mentors before the call, they've gained so much from having the conversations with people as well. So I think it just backs up, you know, ask those questions. People get so much from the questions as well as giving the answers. So, you know, get out there and just keep finding out more.
Yeah, I think that's really important, because although it's, you know, it's an established sector, and there was a stat earlier about how fast that Manchester is growing as kind of a tech city, and that's brilliant, but it's still new as well, and we're still learning every day. There's new technologies being developed, there's new job roles being developed, and just because you don't see something in a company doesn't mean that it's not going to be there next week or next month or next year. And I think, you know, your point about reaching out and asking those questions and having those conversations is sort of really key. So one of the things that I wanted to kind of bring up about from a next steps point of view that we're kind of doing, so obviously this is the final session of this week, which I'm really sad about now. But one of the things that we didn't just want to end it there. So what we're planning is, and we'll leave the links in the chat and we'll send these out on Monday. But from across November, December and January, we're going to be running a webinar once a month. And that is going to follow on from this week and really focus on those employability skills. So these are going to be run by Manchester Digital, probably with myself again, but in partnership with some of the employers in the region. So we'll have the likes of Auto Trader with us, or maybe Co-op with us. And this will be it'll be a combination of kind of some talks that we've heard, like similar to what we've heard today, expanding on things, but also it'll be a chance for a Q&A session as well. And this is all about helping support you on your journey. So these sessions, again, are going to be completely free to attend. I'll put the link into the chat. The links can be found on the digital toolkit that I shared that's on the GMCA website. I'll put them into the chat and we'll email them out on Monday as well. But you can register for those sessions. They are completely free to attend. And it's just going to help you on that journey and ask any more questions that you have. And the thing about the webinars is we're trying to kind of take you up to a point in February. So every February, Manchester Digital runs something called the Skills Festival. And part of that, we have a day which is called Talent Day. So Talent Day is your opportunity to kind of meet with leading employers from around the region. So we have loads of people, Auto Trader always there. It's a number of big employers that turn up to this day with the sole purpose of meeting new talent. And that's not talent that has got 15 years experience. That's new talent, that's new people that they can bring in. And I'm sure Sarah will kind of agree, a lot of the time for employers, it's looking at attitude and passion for the industry seeing if they're a good fit for them culturally as well. So we'll put this full details of Skills Fest and Talent Day. That's going to be released in a few weeks. So if you are interested, I'd suggest keeping an eye on the Manchester Digital website. You can sign up for our newsletter, and once that information's out, obviously you can find out how you go about attending those. But the first thing for me would be to sign up for these webinars. So November, December and January, it'll be approximately an hour to an hour and a half once per month. And that's just that opportunity to keep on with this kind of progress and get that support on the way. Connect with some employers, because these might be employers that you can connect with that will be there at Talent Day as well, and to ask some of the questions that you may have. I know it's been really popular today. We've had a lot of chat within the chat boxes through the sessions when we've done Q&As, and also through the speed mentoring earlier. So we will send those links out, like I said, later today and also on Monday. So please do sign up for those webinars if you'd like to continue learning. So before we finish, I'm going to go to the chat and ask if there are any questions for the panels. I know there's been a lot of talk around kind of issues around age and opportunities around that. Does anyone have any specific questions around next steps, around any of the resources that are available, any employability questions? And if you want to pop them in the chat there, and we can ask them to the panel while we've still got them. I've just seen there's a question from Natalie around the Microsoft session. Yes, every session that's been run this week on the stage has been recorded. They're all going to be uploaded. They're being uploaded as we speak onto our YouTube channel. We will send you an email on Monday that has links to all the videos and any links to resources. But also check out the link that I put in the chat earlier for the digital toolkit, because that has links to a lot of the Microsoft pages, some free resources, some of the paid for ones as well. But that does break down some of that Microsoft, because obviously it's a huge learning platform that can direct you to some specifics that you're looking for as well. So do check out that next steps page as kind of a first port of call, and obviously we will email everything out to you on Monday as well. So do we have any further questions for the panel?
Becky, is it worth mentioning the digital upskill program that we're about to launch in January? Absolutely. Yeah, it's a little bit early to announce this, but we're going to announce it more publicly soon, so the web resources are just there. But something I was talking about earlier was about universities not working in the same way. Oh, brilliant! You've got the flyer there that people can see. What I would say is, if you look around, there are programs ready to start right now. So our at University Academy 92, we don't just start in September. Students can start in November. Students can start in January. And we've been working really closely with GMCA and Microsoft, one of our partners, and indeed Code Nation and Insight and a few other employers. And what we did was specifically design a program really to focus on the core demand area of getting people into coding. So we have what we're calling our digital upskill program. This starts in January, and it's a 7-month program. It's at level 4, so it's for people that have either studied to level 3, level A levels or BTEC, or they're perhaps more mature and they can demonstrate they're ready to study at that level. So I would encourage anybody that's interested, that wants to take this route to get into coding, to consider it. And the whole idea is we'll be offering 50 places initially from January, for January entry. And the whole idea is students will study. They'll go through a process to make sure we check that they're ready. And if they're not, we've got lots of other partners that can help get people ready. So maybe a slight delay. But if you're ready to study on that program in 7 months, so it's a 24 weeks, block by block, students will learn front-end development, back-end development, problem solving for computation and various other things. But it will go from 0, so you don't need prior coding experience, through to being a great coder at the end of it. So you'll get a certificate in higher education, a level 4 qualification in software development, awarded by Lancaster University. That is the first year of a degree as well. So you have the first year of a degree in the bag, and you'll be able to carry on and study. But one critical thing about this program is students will also get a placement. So we have a whole set of industry partners that are offering placements alongside this. So whilst studying in the afternoon, so you'll be studying in the afternoon of Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday on the UA92 campus, or a mix of on campus and online. And if we go into full lockdown, it'll all be online, but it's going to happen. But you'll also have a placement with an employer. And the employers, again, if you can't physically get into the employers, the placement will happen online. So in 7 months' time, from January, students would come out at the other end having studied, having learnt to code, having got the first year of a degree in the bag, a certificate in higher education, qualification, and having had some experience with an organisation in the sector. So that's the kind of programme, and it's not the only one. So I would say please look around for other things which are available as well. But that's a specific programme. If somebody really wanted to get into coding, they could start in January. 7 months later, they would really have upskilled. They'd have had some industry experience via the placement. And should be in a really, really good place to really accelerate into a career in this space. And again, this has been co-designed with Microsoft. Actually, students will also get a £2,000 scholarship as well. Microsoft have already pledged some scholarships, and there's going to be some announcements around this, so I won't punchline it. But since we've got it available now, and since we're at the end of this important week, I think, the Switch to Digital Week, I just wanted to mention it there. And so the flyer is literally hot off the press, just finalised this morning, and I thought it's worth getting out to everyone. The other thing I will mention as well, just while I've got a little bit of airtime, is we also have, forgetting about digital in its entirety, we also have a Kickstart program, and that's really for people that have been impacted by COVID, and they are £5,000 grants to study for a degree. So check our website out for that, and that's for any subject area, including our computer science degree. And you could start in November. So I think just one message from me, not necessarily about UA92, wherever you decide to go and study at what level, you can start now. You don't have to wait till next September. You don't have to wait till a time in the distance. There are things available that you can do right now if you're really ready. If you're not ready, that's great. Take your time, but you don't. It doesn't all just happen in September. It keeps happening throughout the year.
I think that's a really good point, that there are courses and apprenticeships and boot camps starting kind of pretty much every week, I think, at the moment. So I think it can really fit around people's expectations when they're ready to start with things. And I think, like you've just pointed out there, Craig, it's not kind of that traditional route. There are different courses, learning in different ways and for a different amounts of time, which means you can find something that really does fit around your life. We've had a couple of questions here, Sarah, for you. Wanted to know more about the Auto Trader Academy and also the Auto Trader apprenticeships.
Yeah, no, I can say a little bit more. So we've got some roles live that fall within our academy that have gone live this week. So I'll pop a link in the chat in a second. So the 2 roles that have gone live this week, and there's more coming in the next couple of weeks. These are for next year's intake. But I'll come back to some other opportunities in a second. So this week we've launched our graduate developer roles. So those are live. And the other role is a graduate account builder, account manager. So 2 completely different roles, but both go through our academy. So I'll post links in there if people are interested in applying for those. And at the moment, we've got opportunities for a June and an October intake. All the information goes on our career site, but I'd also recommend, if you're interested, having a follow of our social media channels, because there's some more information and content that we'll put out there from our grads and from the resourcing team. We've got some things coming up soon. So if those are of interest, please do follow those channels and take a look at the link I'll pop on in a second. With regards to apprenticeships, as I touched on, we do offer apprenticeships kind of from level 3 up to level 7. The ones that we've got coming up the soonest are the ones in partnership with Manchester Digital. So I'll probably kind of ask that question back to Becky to say about the application process, because we don't actually advertise those. We work with Manchester Digital and the employer partners to support with that programme. So it's not just us that will be involved in the recruitment, it's lots of different other employers as well. So it's a great opportunity, not just to be seen by us, but to be seen by other organisations. So I think I touched on this on Monday as well. I think it's so important that you get to find out more about employers and find the right one for you. And when you're looking for opportunities in digital, because there's so many different things and there's so many different approaches you should look at when looking for a new role. And if you can find an organisation that really aligns to your own values, your own interests, and I think, Craig, you were talking about, different organisations with different flexibility of where you can work and things. So do explore in and make sure it's a good company and the right company for you. So the Manchester Digital Apprenticeship massively gives you that opportunity because you get to meet lots of different employers at the same time, and also through the programme as well. So it's all delivered through people in tech roles in the industry. So it's you really get the opportunity to meet different employers and work with different people. So it's quite unique within its field. So I could talk about it all day, but I probably won't. Just so I can tell you about some other things. And then we've got some other apprenticeship roles hopefully coming live, but they won't be coming live until next year. I'm just working through what we've got coming up in the new financial year, because we have filled the majority of our roles already in early careers, with our graduate intake starting this week and our degree apprentice starting a few weeks before, and we had our tech returners in August. So new roles will be coming through soon, but they will predominantly be for 2021, with the apprenticeship Manchester Digital being in January and then the graduates in June and October. But we get roles through ad hoc as well within this space. My role within the business is to really look for opportunities where we can bring early talent in, and that's when we've got opportunities for great people that can support you with your development, and a real pipeline. So it has to be a really credible role, and sometimes they come up just because people are promoted, as we've all spoken about. Tech and digital changes all the time, so there's new opportunities coming through. So what I'd say is, even if there's something that you're interested in and I'm not talking about now, I'd still recommend having a look at our career site every now and again, following us on social, because vacancies take me by surprise as well.
Yeah, I'd also say kind of to follow your social site, because there's always loads of blog posts that come up that I know I read that give you real insight into what it's like to work at Auto Trader and some of the roles that you have there. And that's really valuable insight when you are then going to go and apply for something. So it's always worth looking at those.
No, there's loads of content on that. And I think it's this is kind of going back to what I was saying about really doing your research on organisations and finding out if they're the right company for you. So we put all kinds of things out there. The other thing we've got is we put posts out from our engineers and our designers who regularly blog. So we've got an engineering blog and a design blog, and those posts go out on social as well. So it's a learning opportunity as well to find out about how they do things and the different technologies and things that they use in.
Just to say, I think an Auto Trader is a great company to work for, but there are lots of other companies, aren't there, as well. And I think the thing about the tech industry, there are lots of organisations of different scale. So there are the big companies, Auto Trader, Microsoft, GCHQ. We've talked about these big organisations that can offer some wonderful careers, but there are also real small organisations. And I was just looking at it's actually a startup, and it's suddenly sprung to mind that a lot of people in the tech sector, once they've developed their skill level, actually create companies too, and that happens a lot in our sector. And so I'm just minded. I saw a tweet this morning from a company that started up as a student. I remember working with him when he was first learning to code. He's struggling to get staff now. He's trying to expand, and he's over near York in Yorkshire. And just this morning put out a call for, he needs another web developer for his team, and you can live anywhere, because it's all remote work and you can live anywhere. So I do think once you really get your head into this sector, the opportunities, you could be and live in Greater Manchester and be working for companies around the world. And I think it's really important to think about the opportunity to create your own organisation. The skills shortages are such at the moment that actually once organisations are created, there's lots of work to do actually in supporting other organisations. So I would think about that as well. Might not be the right time if you're just developing your skills, but actually you can get quite a lot of support actually for setting yourself up as well as a tech company. And I think that's worth bearing in mind.
Yeah, I would really echo that, Craig. I think we've got some amazing large companies, but we've also got lots of SMEs in Greater Manchester that need digitally skilled people, and we know that actually they are recruiting at the moment. It is kind of quite strong because obviously a lot of businesses are needing to take their products and services online. So that is a great avenue. And what I've definitely seen is sometimes it can be a little bit easier to get a little bit of kind of work experience or work on a bit of a project to help build your portfolio with an SME. And definitely don't forget about the public sector. So there are some amazing opportunities in the public sector, particularly the civil service, as places like you've got kind of DWP Digital and the Home Office are really kind of building digital products and services. And a lot of them have really great kind of career development programs to help you get a foot in the door. So yeah, just really be really open, and everywhere will offer a slightly different type of experience. So yeah, really have a think about what it is you're after.
Yeah, I think that really echoes what we've heard from a few people this week in, you know, reach out to many people, companies of all sizes, individuals across different roles, because it's through doing that you'll start to figure out what it is that you want to do, what type of company you want to work for. You'll get different advice back as well. We had one of the Switch to Digital panels that we did, I think it was Wednesdays. There was a lady called Stephanie who had been furloughed. She's in the hospitality industry. She'd been furloughed, and so she'd done some coding courses. And then she reached out and said, hey, can I come and do an internship? She said she only got the offer from one. I think she was doing 1 day a week to begin with. She started this week full time with them, but she's already made connections with a lot of other companies as well that are feeding back to her about what they need from her. So every company that you reach to will be looking for something slightly different based on what their need is at that time, but take that as kind of a learning, because it will help shape your knowledge and shape that journey that you take.